Lower your weapon, she said abruptly, her voice steady despite the panic surging through her veins. What? Kellen spun toward her, incredulous. You can't be serious. Just do it, she snapped. Kellen hesitated but complied, his weapon's hum fading as he deactivated it. Elira took a deep breath and stepped forward, hands raised, palms open. The tendrils paused, as if studying her. Their motion became less erratic, their forms solidifying into a smoother, almost liquid-like surface. Elira? Kellen's voice was tense. What are you doing? I think it's testing us, she whispered. It didn't fully attack until we resisted. The tendrils stopped mere inches from her hands. For a moment, everything was silent, the stillness pressing down on them like a weight. Then, as if satisfied, the tendrils withdrew, retracting into the walls. The pulsing light of the etchings dimmed, leaving the corridor in an eerie, flickering half-light. Kellen exhaled sharply, his grip tightening on his rifle. You just gambled both our lives on a hunch. And it worked, Elira said, though her heart was still pounding. She turned to the viewport, her mind churning with questions. Lavos, what's the situation with the Radiance? The AI responded, its tone more stable now. The interference has subsided, but external scans show a massive energy surge building within the structure. It appears to be awakening. Awakening what? Kellen asked. That is unclear. However, the energy readings are consistent with those of a hyperdimensional gateway. Elira's blood ran cold. A gateway? To where? Unknown, Levos replied. But the energy signature matches the sphere you interacted with. Whatever this structure is, it may have been dormant until your contact activated it. The chamber behind them began to vibrate, a low hum resonating through the floor. The walls shifted, their metallic surfaces peeling back to reveal a glowing, crystalline core. We're not leaving without answers, Elira said, determination hardening her voice. Lavos, can you override the docking tube controls? Reattach it to the Radiance. Attempting now, the AI said. As they waited, the crystalline core emitted a beam of light that struck the corridor ceiling. Images began to form in the air, ghostly projections of a great conflict. Gigantic ships clashed in space, beams of energy slicing through planets like paper. A fleet of massive ring-like structures, identical to the one they stood in, unleashed tendrils of dark energy that consumed everything in their path. It's a war, Kellen murmured, his voice filled with awe. But who were they fighting? The projections shifted, focusing on a single entity, a swirling mass of shadow and light that radiated malice. It devoured entire fleets, its form growing with every system it consumed. The tendrils from the ring structures attacked it, slowing its advance but never fully defeating it. They weren't the invaders, Elira realized. They were the defenders. The projection zoomed in on one of the translucent beings, standing aboard a massive command vessel. The figure raised a hand, and the gateway within the ring activated. The shadowy entity was drawn toward it, pulled into the light until it disappeared. Then silence. This place, Elira said softly, was their last stand. Before they could process further, Levos's voice interrupted. Docking tube reattached. Recommend immediate return to the Radiance. Energy levels in the structure are nearing critical thresholds. Elira hesitated, glancing back at the crystalline core. We can't leave it like this. If that gateway activates, it could unleash whatever they trapped, Kellen finished grimly. Let's move. They raced back through the corridor, the walls shaking violently as the structure began to destabilize. Just as they reached the airlock, the core emitted a deafening pulse of energy, and the entire structure came alive. As they boarded the Radiance, Elira turned to Kellen, her eyes fierce. This isn't over. Whatever they locked away, and it's trying to break free. The Radiance detached from the docking tube just as the ancient structure began to collapse. Ripples of energy cascaded outward, causing nearby debris fields to disintegrate into sparkling dust. Elira and Kellen stood on the bridge, watching the spectacle unfold through the main viewport. Despite the destruction, The glowing crystalline core remained intact, hovering at the center of the chaos like the eye of a storm. "Status report, Levos," Elira commanded, gripping the edge of the console. "The structure is undergoing catastrophic failure," the AI responded. However, the core remains stable and continues to emit increasing energy signatures. Its readings suggest it is preparing to activate the gateway. "Can we disrupt it?" Kellen asked, his tone urgent. Levos hesitated. "The gateway's mechanisms are deeply integrated into the core's framework. Direct disruption would likely trigger an uncontrolled release of energy, which could be catastrophic." Elira's jaw tightened. "Then we need another way. What about containment? Can we isolate it?" "Negative," Levos replied. "The energy field surrounding the core is too volatile. Any containment attempt would result in immediate failure." The ship shuddered as waves of energy slammed into its shields. Elira turned to her crew. "If we can't disrupt it or contain it, then we need to figure out what's coming through that gateway and stop it before it's too late." Kellen frowned. "We don't even know what we're dealing with. For all we know, it's something we can't stop." "We don't have the luxury of giving up," Elira shot back. "Levos, can you project a timeline for the gateway's activation?" "Approximately 10 minutes, the AI said. "However, the process could accelerate if the core stabilizes further." "Then we'll buy ourselves some time," Elira said, her mind racing. "Plot a course to intercept the core. Let's see if we can slow this thing down." As the Radiance maneuvered closer to the glowing core, the ship's sensors began to pick up strange anomalies. Space around the core warped and twisted, creating ripples of distortion that made navigation increasingly difficult. The ship's systems flickered, struggling to maintain stability in the face of the growing chaos. "Captain," Levos said, "we are detecting entities within the distortion field. They appear to be shadows." Elira's eyes narrowed. "Define entities." "Non-corporeal forms moving with deliberate intent," the AI explained. "They are converging on the core." "Visuals on screen," Elira ordered. The viewport filled with the image of swirling shadows, their forms constantly shifting and coalescing like living smoke. They surrounded the core, their movements synchronized as if performing a ritual. "What are they doing?" Kellen asked, his voice laced with unease. "Stabilizing the core," Levos answered. "Their presence is accelerating the gateway's activation." Elira gritted her teeth. "Then we stop them. Weapons online. Target those entities." "Captain," Levos warned, "the entities are not bound by physical constraints. Energy-based weaponry may have limited effectiveness." "Then give me alternatives," she barked. Before the AI could respond, the shadows turned their attention toward the Radiance. One by one, they detached from the core and began moving toward the ship, their forms elongating and twisting like predatory specters. "To be continued,"